Hello, Captains. This is Kent again, and welcome to the Flight Show. So today I am addressing a topic that is very dear to my heart, and it's called missions. Meaning, ever since Flight Simulator 10 went away, what I do miss, it's still there, don't get me wrong, but, I've now moved over to Prepared 3D, and one of the things I miss about Flight Simulator 10 was the missions. There were a lot of third-party developers that made a lot of different missions for airlines, various airlines, and it would help you choose destinations as opposed to you having to come up with them on your own. And it didn't look good to just sit there and look at all the flights that you've accomplished, and I kind of miss that. What they have in terms of keeping track of your flights in Prepared, I think, leaves something to be desired. But then I came across this thing called A Pilot's Life. And it's really interesting because it basically, you create a character in this, or a pilot, and you follow this pilot's career. You're not so much having to worry about flights, passenger satisfaction or things like that, or you're not looking how well you land the airplane or something like that. It's simply tracking you as a pilot and your career. So I think I wanted to review this particular program, and here it is. Here is SimBitWorlds A Pilot's Life, and I'm going to go through it a little bit, and then we're going to just see if this might be something for you. So here is your opening screen. As you can see, I have a little picture of you, or of me, and there's a generic picture, but you can upload your own, but it needs to be 210 by 210 for it to fit. And as you can see, I've had a couple of hours and under my belt. I'll get into that in a second, but I wanted to show you the update that they had for this program. As you can see, in the update, there is a resume. And so you can see that I've flown for 2 airlines. I've flown for Frontier, which I'm flying now, and then Raven airline in Alaska, where I did 8 flights. So you can see that in this time that I've put together a little bit of XP. I got 22.3 of 50 XP. That's this red line here, and it states it right here. You can either put it over here to get it, or you can look at it right there. I'm earning $16 an hour in terms of my pay rate, and yeah, for those local routes and everything, people think that pilots make a ton of money, and they really don't. This is really an actually educational thing. I've had 10 flights under my belt, and my last flight was from DFW to KDEN, or Denver International. So this is what's been deposited in my bank account for what I've earned so far, so I got a lot more flying I need to do. And I have 19.79 flight hours under my belt so far, and I've been to 6 different destinations. So far, the plane that I've flown the most is the Dash 8. But I'm trying out some new aircraft, and so let me take you to this screen here, the job market. Because when you start off, you have to find an airline. And you might think, oh, I'm just going to choose United. They don't necessarily have to hire you. You can apply for a job, but if you don't have any experience, your higher rated airlines aren't going to touch you. So that's why I was with Raven Airlines in Alaska, getting my weight up. And what you can do is you can look for flights based on the continent. I'm flying in the continental US, and you can also look for flights based on your rating. So right now I'm with Frontier, so let me go ahead and show you a little bit of information about Frontier. I don't think I went by it. Let's see, here we go, Frontier Airline. Now if I highlight it, I can also show you airline details. So as you can see, here are all the places that Frontier Airlines flies in the continental US and Mexico, and I've hit a couple of these already. My first thing was to DFW down here, but I am now flying to Chicago O'Hare. Who knows what's going to come next? Actually, I looked at my list of flights, and I'm going to be going down here to Orlando pretty soon. But just like a pilot, you fly out to a destination and you have to fly back. So you might want to choose an airline based on where your destinations are going to be. And what they fly in their complement is the A319, Airbus 319, the Airbus 320, and the Embraer 190. So I will be flying this flight on an Airbus 320 for Frontier Airlines. What you can also see is that as you're gaining XP, other companies will offer you a job. And if you want to terminate your contract, you can, and you can go work for another airline. It's actually there in your contract, and actually I think I'll show you that next. So here's your contract. If you click it, you pull it up, and it says what your duties are. It says what their rank they're hiring you. And it also states, have agreed to the conclusion of this contract employment with the terms and conditions set forth. And at the end, the agreement may be terminated by the employee by accepting another job offer. So if you choose to bounce and go to another airline, that terminates your contract. So you're not locked in. But I personally, if I choose an airline, I will fly all the routes that have been given to me for that given set. Which brings me over to here, flights. So once you're picked up by an airline, you will hit this button and it will either generate a whole set of flights if this is empty, and then as you accomplish those flights, they move over here. So these are flights that you have under your belt. These are the ones that have been scheduled. And as you can see, I am scheduled for Denver International to Chicago, Illinois. So we're going to go ahead and say start next flight. And then you go to the current flight. And what you have to do is first you have to choose your aircraft. And this is a 319, but I'm going to change to a 320. So I think this is as good as any for me. So we'll say OK. Now I have my Airbus 319. And then if you're at your airport, you can go ahead and start flight. It says here how far you are, 769 miles. It will mention when you link up and start your flight how much time to arrival. Your longitude and latitude is your location, what you're flying, and the altitude where you're currently located. Since I'm in Denver, I'm in Mile High City, so right about here. And this will actually grow as you move from distance from where you depart to where your arrival is. So let's go ahead and hit start flight. You can divert or cancel in progress. So we're going to go ahead and leave here. And we're going to go ahead and get started. Now this is all about you understanding about a pilot's life, so I'm not going to necessarily take you through all the flight procedures, but I did purchase the Airbus just so I could be realistic and fly Frontier aircraft that Frontier fly. So I had to take some time to get to learn it, and now we're going to get on it. Okay, so it's time for us to start to push back and go on our merry little way, but we can't start our engines because of icy conditions.
We're ready for pushback.
So we are about to get out of here. I thought you might want to see this.
Locking gear.
We're not going to be able to start engines until after we push back, so we'll just enjoy the pushback.
Release parking brakes. Commencing push. Due to icing conditions, please stand by for engine start until push completed and brakes set.
Well, this is in fact a pilot's life, so we'll sit up here and look at it with the pilot. It is busy and teeming with activity here at Denver International. But hey, doesn't matter. We got places to go and passengers to get to their destination. Normally, I don't fly Airbuses. I'm more of a Boeing fan, but you know, I do have to admit I've enjoyed learning how to fly a Boeing. If for no, I mean Airbus. If for no other reason, it's kind of new and fresh, but it's growing on me. It's not going to replace my love of Boeing, but it is something new to learn and enjoy doing. I will say that.
Set parking brakes.
Okay, so they are about to let us do our thing. And I need you to kind of like move it. We got to get going. We got things to do, man. It's nothing personal. Let's go. Come on. Now I'm going to go ahead and export this window to my off screen so that I can focus on it a little better when I'm landing or when I'm flying. So the nice thing is it shows both. Unlike PMDG, if you export one, that screen is blank, and I think that's to save resources, but they do a pretty good job of letting both screens stay up here, so I'm happy.
Unlocking gear. Tow truck disconnected. Bypass pin removed.
Alright. So I think they're going to let me start engines in just a second.
Left is clear. Right is clear.
Bless you.
Clear to start engines.
Alright. Okay, we are good to go. Now, as you can see, we have taken off and we're on our departure. But what I wanted you to see is that as you are departing, a pilot's life rather, is keeping track of where your plane is, where it is relative to the map. And it's also looking at the progress of the overall trip. So as you can see, we are now 3% of our total journey, and we have 1 hour and 59 minutes till arrival and 740 miles to go. We're traveling at a speed of 731 knots at we're currently at an altitude of 22,185 feet. So not a ton of information to keep you interested while you're doing things, but I mean, it's there in case you want to track it. I'm looking at my information on Electronic Flight Bag 2, so much more breadth of information and depth. So I might glance at this for the interest's sake, maybe like looking at the time till arrival, but other than that, just pointing it out. Okay, I'll show you what things are looking like when we get to our cruising altitude. So here we are at cruising altitude, and so let's take a look at what the pilot's life has to say. We are now 59% of the way to our journey, or through our journey. So here's our aircraft. Now this is just line of sight flying, whereas this is actually the route that we have, and a pilot's life doesn't load your course, so it might look like you're off course, but you're doing your thing. We're 59% of the way, 60% of the way there. We have 305 nautical miles to go and 33 minutes until arrival. So this is what you would see during the transition from your departure to your arrival using... it seems that we have an update that was released on the 8th. So I'm going to have to download and put that in, because they're adding little goodies as they go along. So I'll have to remember to address that. But okay, so in the meantime, let you enjoy a little bit of our cruising, and we'll bring it back on descent. Well, as you can see, we are now on descent for arrival at O'Hare. So what I think I'll do is I'll bring you back in on the final, and we'll land it, taxi, and then take a look at a pilot's life to see what we have accomplished. The one thing I did want to point out is if any of you are thinking about purchasing Aerosoft's A300 family, the 319, 318, 320, 321, there's something you should know, especially if you're someone who likes doing long hauls. Its autopilot is not designed to work with the time acceleration of Prepared 3D. You already know this if you own the software, but if you're thinking about buying it, you may not know this unless you did some reading in their manuals or some research on the internet. But all this being said, if you're wanting to do a pilot's life and you're trying to mirror the airline that you've chosen exactly like flying their aircraft, and the levy of their fleet is Airbus, understand that if you're using Aerosoft's Airbus, you're not going to have the benefit of really time acceleration. They do not recommend you use it because it'll have things working funny, because again, their autopilot all of this is running externally outside of Prepared 3D, and it's not designed to work with their time acceleration. You might be able to get away with using twice, 2 times acceleration, and you keep an eye on things, because I tried it and it seems to behave all right, but they recommend that you do not use time acceleration. Just something you want to keep in mind if you're thinking of doing a pilot's life and you want to get these flights in, but you want to kind of hurry up and do time acceleration. That's really not going to be a huge option if you're running the Aerosoft Airbus series. Alright, just wanted to peek that out. We'll see you on the final. Okay, we are essentially on our final, so what I'm going to do is go ahead and hit our localizer. And our approach. And hence we will lower our landing gear. Brakes are medium. Flaps 2. Yeah, our speed will reduce in just a second, so we're fine there. Thrust. Yep, looking good. Now, I don't think that O'Hare Airport is optimized very well, because there are some large airports that I do land in, and it doesn't get as choppy. But we're just gonna roll with this. Oh yeah, so descend. Okay, he's going down. Looking good. Okay, we should be descending to 2,200 at this moment. As you can see right here, we're on that glide slope, so we should get down on the glide slope momentarily. We're on the descent slope for 2,200, but we're above the glide slope, but I believe we're going to get there. So, alright. We should be okay. And we're going to go and move this to LS. Alright, there's the runway ahead of us.
Traffic, traffic, traffic.
We have good landing speed. We seem to be on the glide slope. So I think we'll be alright. Almost where we need to be at 2,200, so I'm not so worried about it. We are right We just had 2,200 or above. I don't know why you want to be above.
Traffic.
But I think we're doing okay. And then we're going to bring this baby in for a landing. Now it's getting a little dicey here in terms of the frame rates.
2,500.
But that's okay. In my humble opinion, I think it might have to do with the Dream Team software, because like I said, there's some big airports that I come into, and I don't have this problem, but, you know, what do I know? Before I go accusing things, I want to make sure I know exactly what I'm saying. Alright, there we go. We're a little high, but that's alright. I think we can get it down without going up too fast. There we go. We're alright. By the way, we're not using ATC, so that's why the aircraft may not be coming in the runways that we think that they should, but I'm not using air traffic control, so it's to be a little expected. But that's alright.
1,000.
Just got to get over, because we have a 6-knot wind blowing us away, but that's alright. We will get where we need to be with this little bit of crosswind. Alright, we're doing alright. Yes, and we're on the glide slope, so now we're happy. Alright, there we go.
500.
Easy. Alright. We got this. We got
400.
Alright.
300.
It's okay. Looking good. Looking good.
200.
Now we're gonna bring our auto throttle
100.
off. And idle.
50. 40. 30. Retard 10. 5.
Ignore all these aircraft on the runway. We're not using ATC, so that was just going to be inevitable at a busy airport. Alright, we have reverse thrusters on. Alright, reversers off. Manual braking. And we have arrived in Chicago. Okay, we're going to taxi to this exit way right over here. Okay, we're going to clean up the aircraft as soon as we're off the runway. Okay. Bring up flaps. If I had a co-pilot, I'd have them handling the lights right now. But that's okay. And we're going to bring this in to gate. Let's see here. Just want to bring it into F12. Pass it? Yeah. Alright, we're bringing it into... Ooh, I overshot it, so we're going to bring it into something closer. Alright, here we go. Alright, and then we will bring this in and see what a pilot's life has to say. Where did I want it? Alright, here we go. 14. Oh, there you are, hidden behind the thing right there. Alright. Alright, and I know what I forgot to do. Turn on the APU. Alright, while that's happening, let's just go ahead and bring you what you came for. Here we are, we have arrived so we can end flight. And now we have that particular flight behind us. It's under our belt, and then our next flight will bring us back to Denver for the turnaround. And if we look at our dashboard, you can see that I have now 22 hours under my belt, 7 destinations, and 11 flights. And so it continues, getting more XP to get to our first officer's promotion. And so there you have it, a very down and dirty look at a pilot's life. I recommend it if you need missions and kind of like goal oriented with your career. Then I think this is definitely the way to go. I've been enjoying it, and my APU isn't doing a darn thing. Well, nevertheless, everybody, here's what I'm gonna do, because I can do that. I give 0, and we'll just go and tell our ground connections, ground services, to pylons, chocks, GPU, the whole 9. We've got external power available, so now we'll get on those doors and deboard, or disembark. Deboard, Lord. Okay, so there we go. Everybody's doing their thug nizzle. I hope you enjoyed this little video. Threw it together. Wasn't too fancy, too crazy. But again, I wanted to highlight a pilot's life, but I wanted to throw some flying in there because that's just what I do, because I'm enjoying learning this aircraft, and it's a flight sim show, so you need to see some flight simming. Alright everybody, thanks for tuning in. Please be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you again in the virtual skies.